Good morning. This is Pastor Dan Hoeger. You are on live stream coffee here at the end of January 2021. Woo, that took a long time to get to 2021, didn't it? Well, here we are, and glad to have you with us this morning. It is, if you are in Arizona, just a little bit chilly. I got 2 layers on. That's deep winter here for Phoenix. I know some people actually got a little bit of snow, but you can see it up on the mountains, and that's just really pretty. But of course, high 71 today, so that's a beautiful thing. So glad to have you here. For those of you who don't know, we're glad to have you join us. This is a chance to kind of catch up on what's going on at the church. You can listen to this in the background while you're making your breakfast. That's fine. And we also do prayers. So I'm looking forward to prayer requests, and hopefully you can join us for that. And all around, it's a great experience for us. So I hope you will join us today. And we've got a special guest today joining us in about 10 minutes. We're going to have our council member, Kristin Boorse. You know Kristin a lot for all of her family's work with Team World Vision, our running to build wells in countries where people don't have running water accessible in their towns or villages. But she is here on behalf of the church council to help prepare us for next week. Next week is our annual meeting, kind of. We can't gather here quite yet. And so we're going to do an information session on Zoom that's going to allow you to hear things that would normally be shared at an annual meeting, the budget, who's running for what, general reports, things like that. And then interact. If you have questions, you want to make a nomination from the floor, things like that. Kristin's here to help us to figure out how this works on Zoom. Some of you, this may be your first opportunity to do Zoom, and you've heard people use the word Zoom. They've been Zooming all around you. And so this might be one you want to watch again because she's going to walk you through how to do it, which is a great thing. But in addition to that, I think for a lot of us, we always discover there's something about Zoom we didn't know. So I'm looking forward to figuring out what I haven't figured out. Well, here I am again on my iPad, trying to find All Saints, just like you are in the morning. See if I can't find our live stream going right now. Well, let's see. Where are we? There we are. That's me right there talking away. Let's see who we have here. Okay. Let's see. We have, well, thank you, Kristin, for joining us. And another Kristin. We have 2 Kristins, all right? And Chris Adair. Chris Adair on Facebook. I was seeing that she was posting, you know how you can do that on Facebook? You get pictures that were special to you from years ago. And she had one from, I think, 2015. A neighbor had a big, beautiful horned owl that was just sitting on a chair in the back porch. Looked like they had a pet owl on their back porch. Just a beautiful creature. Hopefully you've been spending a little bit more time getting to know the creatures in your neighborhood and all the beautiful wildlife we have around us here. Dave Check says, good morning, Dave. Good to see you. Marlene Olson. Marlene, I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this. Marlene was our inspiration for us to ring bells on, I believe that was the 19th, when we commemorated those who had passed already from COVID-19. And we joined other churches and organizations around the country ringing bells. And thank you, Marlene, for giving me the invite to do that with you here at the church. Norma Head, good morning, Norma. Good to hear from you and to see that you're fine. Barbara McDonald, Barbara, it was nice talking to you. Glad to know that you're doing well and healing up a little bit. What else is going on? Well, Next week, we're going to have our monthly drive-through. That's always on the first Sunday of the month. We try to do that every Sunday, first Sunday of the month. And we collect, of course, our food offering, the non-perishable goods, which, boy, that's really been helpful. But also we do our monthly relief offering. And this time it kind of overlaps because our monthly relief offering is going to be for both the wheat program, which is an international program, and our local program, the Desert Mission Food Bank. And so we're collecting money from those organizations because they do have to have staff. They do have to have advertising. They have to have a building. Especially for the international programs, we can't send our canned goods off around the world. Remember, when you come in, you're invited to bring in that special relief offering. We're looking for that. What else we have here? Brian says, good morning. Good morning, Brian Lynch. Though I imagine that could be Diane too. Pastor Kristin says, to get the link to the annual meeting, send an email to krice@allsaintsphoenix.org with the subject annual meeting in the line. So yes, we're about to hear about how to do the Zoom. This, of course, is a meeting that is intended for our voting members of our congregation. And so that's why we're being a little selective as to who gets the link. Who gets the link? It could be you. It could be you, and we'd love to have you. Let's see. We have happy Sunday to Tammy Follinsby. Happy Sunday to you, Tammy. Good to have you and your family with us. Good morning. This is from Sherry Clark. And by the way, have you been noticing Sherry's husband, Perry, has been playing drums here at the church? It's been great having him on there. He's a really sharp drummer. He's got a very crisp rhythm, which is great. Good morning from Sherry Clark. The WHEAT stands for the World Hunger Ecumenical Arizona Task Force. I didn't know that. So it has the Arizona component in there as well. I can see why we call it WHEAT. That's a lot easier to remember. Remember the WHEAT program? We are working on some fun ways to get ashes to you for Ash Wednesday, though you can always use your own ashes. You can even take a candle and get a little bit off the wick if you just need ashes for one. Just make the cross there. But we're looking for a way to you have ashes at home, and we'll talk about distributing them in a couple of weeks. What else we got coming up here? By the way, I do need prayers. I'll plug this one again. Starting February 15th, the day after Valentine's Day, we are doing this class by, yes, you guessed it, Dietrich Bonhoeffer or Bonhoeffer, depending on your dramatic background. It's not big, folks. It's a thin book. My brother, who I hope is joining us, was asking, is there other material with this? No, this is just this book. I mentioned you can get this at Amazon, but somebody else, Kristin, it might be Graham's mom, but somebody put on Facebook that be sure to go to your local bookstore, which is fine. Get this wherever you like to get your books, but it's easy to get. The whole thing is 122 pages. We're doing it over 7 weeks. So yeah, that's less than 20 pages a week. Partly because there's so much in here, I don't want to just blitz through the books for the sake of us reading it. We'll have a time to dig in. But the theme here is life together. And he's looking at Christian community. I mentioned this last week. What makes it fascinating is he's doing this at a time when his church, the Lutheran Church in Germany, his larger community, was a fractured church because of the influence of Nazism during and leading up to World War II. So it's a good book by a well-loved theologian. Let's see. What else do we have on here? Yay, Perry. Perry rocks. Perry's got groupies already on Facebook. Perry, good job. All right. Marlene says, nice to know. I guess I'll say, yay, Perry. I'm part of your groupie. Perry, I am your groupie. All right. Marita Fink says, nice annual report and good to see Perry on the drums. By the way, so the annual report has come out. We are in the process of mailing out some hard copies, but if you're watching this, you probably get it electronically anyway. There are good updates on what's been going on, but of course there are also beautiful pictures. I have to say that everybody just tries to do a good job, because we're telling you that we're excited about what we do here. And normally we get this chance every week, well, the whole staff does, to see all you and to tell you about the good things going on. But folks, there's beautiful ministry. I've got, how many? I'm losing track of it. I got several people lined up to be baptized. And they know that they can't do that in front of you, but yet the baptism is important for them as adults and for their children. And people are still growing in their faith, and they're connecting with our congregation, and we're connecting with a broader world. So don't forget that that's going on. So why don't you pray for those who are preparing for baptism. All right, Paul Eastman. Oh, Jerry says, thanks, Perry, for joining us. Very good. Paul Eastman says, okay, now this is your thing. Listen up there. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Never rely on what you think you know. Remember the Lord in ? You do, and he will show you the right way. It must be everything, in everything you do. Thank you, Paul, very much. By the way, Paul and Sue, thank you for the nice blood oranges. I had last night for dessert as well. Okay, well, enough talky talk. Annual meeting coming next week. We're going to be talking more about that in just a little bit. Next week, we will have live stream coffee. That'll be at 9. The annual meeting will be at noon, which is our normal annual meeting time. And we'll have from 9 to 11, we'll have our drive-through. I'll be out there as well. We'll say hello to a few people and keep you informed on what's going on. Hopefully it's a little bit warmer. You'll be fine in your car, but I mean, ooh, I have all that beautiful winter clothing back from my days living in Illinois. Maybe I'll break some of that out, get my parka out. It could be fun. All right, well, it's time, I think, for us to pull in Kristin Boorse. So Kristin, I'm going to put you on here, and we're going to talk about how to join in for the annual meeting. Hello.
Hi.
You know, first off, that is just such a beautiful wall. What is that? Is that tile? Is it wallpaper?
That is a great question. Since we've had the pandemic, we've been spending a lot of time investing in nesting in the home. And Graham and I mostly did this. It's wallpaper. It's removable, peelable, so it's not like
Cool.
the glue. So you put a high shine coat on it in the back, and then you obviously let that dry, and then you try and match up the patterns. We did have the kids help in the corners. It was laborious, but success nonetheless. So yeah, happy with how it turned out.
We have different levels of quality for home improvement. I spent 2 hours yesterday cleaning out the area where the kittens do the kitty litter box. So this is
Well, we have to do that stuff too, but
okay, good. All right. I wish I could be more sustainable items and not the unrolling items as well. So, well, Kristin, I'm not sure if everyone knows, but you have been on church council now for, is it 4 years?
Yep.
For 4 years. And what other things, you certainly do Team World Vision, which we'll talk about, but what other things have you been involved here at the church?
I mean, supporting our kids' faith as they're growing up through the church.
And you have kid chance to plug your children.
That's right.
So you have 2 children, and they are?
I have 2 kids. Alina is in her senior year of high school. So she's in the process of applying for colleges and figuring out her path there. Emmett is a sophomore and he is playing soccer and he's getting ready to figure out his Eagle Scout project for Boy Scouts.
Oh, I didn't catch that. That's wonderful.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Alina just finished her Gold Award, which is the equivalent on the ground.
Yeah, my goodness. How do
Yeah.
you keep, I had the same thing too, where I had exhaustingly productive kids. It was hard to keep up with them.
Yes, it is scary, but it's been a little bit slower now with the pandemic because things are done in different ways, so it's a little bit
That's
easier
true.
to stay up on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you also, you, oh, I just have to ask about this, and a lot of people know it, but can you give the short version of what you do professionally? Because I'm just so impressed by this.
Sure. So I'm the vice president of victim identification for a nonprofit organization called Thorn. We primarily work in three main areas. One is with industry to be able to identify, remove, and report child sexual abuse material. The other is with youth and communities to try and prevent self-generated content that is being created out there. And then the third, which is the one that I'm in charge of, is being able to develop technology to defend children and identify them. So work mostly with law enforcement, non-governmental organizations, and being able to identify children much faster.
So you're basically trying to rescue kids who are being abused on the internet.
Yeah, we wouldn't use the term rescue, but yeah, identify and safeguard would be.
Well, that's good. That's good. Thank you so much. And our prayers go with you on that. But this is a much lighter topic today, which is we are having our first ever meeting to cover the information from the we would normally be given at an annual meeting, and we're doing it over Zoom. Now, a lot of people haven't realized that they're looking this on Facebook right now, that you and I are actually broadcasting from a Zoom right now. So we're using Zoom right now. It took me like 30 seconds to log in here. How long did it take you to log in?
It was pretty quick, about
Pretty
5
quick.
seconds.
It isn't always that way, but it usually is pretty quick. And I think you've got a little walkthrough to help people to understand about Zoom. And if you want to, I'll just turn this over to you right now, and I'll ask you the silly questions.
Okay. And as we get started, I am going to also ask people a little bit if you can respond in the Zoom chat, how many of you have actually used Zoom already? And if you haven't, can you tell us that you have not?
Why don't we just say, have you used Zoom, and just type in yes or no?
Yep.
Okay. My
All
guess is for the people who have, though, they still have plenty of questions.
All right. Well, you might have like the home alone look on your face if you're like, oh my gosh, I have to use technology to do this. Some of you may be very familiar with it now that we're in the world of COVID. So hopefully this is just going to be a refresher for some of you. But for others who have not used Zoom, this will just be kind of a little bit of a quick 101. And I'm interested in learning other things that you've done with Zoom. So it looks like we've got a lot of people who have used Zoom. So that's great news. So one of the first things that you will do is you'll actually need to download the application. And because we're having the annual meeting next week, I would recommend doing it well before the actual meeting itself. And I have pictures of the different systems that you could utilize. So you are able to utilize Zoom on your computer, a laptop, an iPad, a tablet, your phone. And so you would download the actual, what we would call a native application to your specific device. And I think Graham, my trusty partner, is putting a link in the chat. If you don't have the application, we've indicated where you can go ahead and get that from the Zoom website.
He's got the link up right now.
Yeah, it is. There's a free version, so there's no reason to actually pay. And you can do this with other friends or colleagues as well. And then, as Pastor Kristin indicated, you can send an email to Pastor Kristin within the subject line of the annual meeting link. And then you will get the link to the actual Zoom. And now you can also, if you don't have any devices, you don't want to download it, we can also provide a phone number and the meeting ID for you to log in to the actual meeting.
So you can physically use your phone or a cell phone and just listen in, right?
Yes. Now I will just say that that's probably gonna not get that it will not give you the same type of options that you would normally have if you were in the native application. So just making note of that as well. But if you were to go into an actual meeting, this is just, Pastor Kristin and Pastor Dan and I having a Zoom meeting. If you didn't have your mouse on anything, this would be what you would see. It would be a display of the members and everybody who's going to be on there. Because it will be a larger meeting, the tiles of the people will be much smaller, and you might actually have to page through to see the faces of all of them. But if you use your mouse and you hover, that's when you're going to actually get the controls in order to be able to manage your particular application. So, both with whether it be a tablet or your computer or your smartphone, if you're in the application, what it's going to be doing is using your webcam and your audio. So, that the webcam, you'll have to give it permission to do that. You'll notice on the very bottom, it'll say start video. If you see a red hash line through it, that means that you're off video, and it might just be your name that would be shown, or a black box. And then on the very left, you would also see a microphone. And if it's whole, then it is active and it is on. A best practice when you're in an actual Zoom meeting would be, if you're not speaking and wanting to talk, would be to mute that. So you don't have kind of, let's say, the background noise of dogs barking or doorbells ringing, whatever the case may be. But of course, you can unmute yourself if you're interested in speaking when there's an appropriate time and a pause. And there's other functionality that you have if you move to the middle here, which is a little chat icon. And if you were to click on that, that would pop out functionality similar to what you're seeing on Facebook Live, where you can type in a comment, you can see other people's comments. You can do this to a particular person. So, for example, if you wanted to message Pastor Dan because he was speaking, you could do that, or it could be broadcast to everyone. So you can select those options as well. And then on the very right, there are different reactions, so emojis. So there's things like hearts or thumbs up or claps. So you can give feedback to the speakers. Sometimes it's a little bit lonely when you're presenting on Zoom and you're not getting interaction like you would in a typical presentation. So it's great if you can provide that feedback.
We're trying to get that built into the pews, so when we're preaching live here, people can send me hearts. So
Yeah, that would be great. Or we can just do old school. We can have cards that have hearts and all sorts.
There we go. We could wave them around. There we go.
Right. And then on the very right, you can end. Well, end would be like if you were the host, but you would have like a leave the meeting. You can do that here, or up in the very top left-hand corner, like this red circle, then that would close out the actual application. And you will at some point, you can't see it over here, but on the very top right, there's different views in which you can see people. So you can have it in a speaker mode, which means that it's going to enhance the person who's actually speaking. So they'll be in larger view. Or you can have it in gallery, which is going to have all the boxes of the people who are presenting.
Which is kind of what we have right now, that we're here on the side.
Yep. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the high level of it. There is some additional functionality. If you were to click on participants, you can do what is called like a virtual raising of the hand. You can also lower the hand. So think about this virtual meeting as we have our annual meeting as a way for us to interact virtually, but we can also see one another. So you can think about it doing it through the application, but you could also do an old school of like raise your hand. The only challenge there is that because we might have so many people, it might be hard for us to see everybody with actual physical raised hands. So if you did want to use under participants and raise your hand, or again, use the chat feature to ask questions. And just keeping in mind that we might have different points and times to like stop and review the questions and then make sure we're answering those as we go through.
I'm going to add a little thing too that's actually very helpful. If you look on my screen right now, it says All Saints Lutheran Church, and yours it has your name. For our meeting, it's really helpful if you have your name. So there's a button that'll allow you to rename it.
Share so you can share your screen.
Yeah. Well, I think mine is showing right now. There we go. Yes. So I've changed my name to Dan Hoeger, so that if you had a question or something like that, everybody know who it was from.
Okay.
Thanks.
Great. So I guess maybe want to see if there are any other comments or questions that people have about Zoom, how we're going to be utilizing it for. I know we're going to have kind of a brief intro the day of, just to give people an understanding of the format and the layout.
I believe, in fact, if the meeting is at noon, I'm right on that one, right?
I don't remember.
We will confirm this, but I believe it's at noon. So how early can people check in if they want to get some help on this?
I think usually, I think it would probably be good maybe 15 minutes before.
Okay, right.
You have to use the application, you want to get it up and running, and then you can just turn your video off and you can mute your microphone and wait for the meeting to start if you're more comfortable with that.
Okay, and then but if the people have questions, hopefully that we can answer those questions before the meeting too.
Yeah, and Pastor Kristin confirmed that it is noon, so 11:45. If you want to just kind of make sure you're on and ready. But again, if this is your first time using Zoom, recommend doing it earlier in the week and do a test drive, maybe with a friend or family member.
Just because I know people are worried about this, that this really is used all over the place. It's a safe thing to do, right?
Yeah.
All right.
And then I think we are recommending that Graham's going to post a few links that are from Zoom on user guides. So Sarah was just mentioning in the chat to make sure that we have these tips emailed out. And so we'll also see about if we can, if there's going to be a portion of this recording that Lorian can post as well for others to watch again as well. So good point, Sarah. Thanks for bringing that up.
Nice. It's an interesting thing. What happens with the Zoom is that it does kind of change a little bit of the dynamic, but one of the things it does is well, I guess sometimes that dynamic change is actually a good thing. We were talking at the men's breakfast, and we certainly like when we could gather together. But Alan Johnson, who runs the men's breakfast, was noting that with the shift of us now having done nearly a year of having done Zoom, that there are more guys actually sharing their views, and more guys sort of checking in and sharing with each other. And it's kind of changed it, where it used to be, when you had 30 people in a room, everybody had somebody to whisper to, or they would talk softly with before the thing would start. And then they would go silent. And there's something a little bit more democratic about that. Everybody kind of has their own same size box, and everybody feels a little bit more comfortable to share just a little bit more. So that's been kind of nice for us to do that. We still look forward to going back live, but it's not all loss. There's some gain there as well. So.
Right. I mean, I think we've all been challenged in different ways this past year and are continuing to be, and we're learning new things, right? Like we as a family have done other things. We learned how to make homemade gnocchi. We tried making bagels, wallpaper, so this is just another thing that we can say that's helping us learn and grow and hopefully stay connected with one another. I think that's probably one of the biggest things we want to make sure. And as you mentioned with the men's breakfast, maybe some people are checking in and connecting even more so now. So that's great.
It's caused me to, when I read Paul in Paul's letters in the New Testament, I missed that several times he's apologetic for not being there in person and having to use this second best technology, which was letter writing. and and so he is thinking like, it's a terrible thing. I want to be at all these churches, but I can't be everywhere at once. I mean, he physically could not be there. And he didn't write a lot of letters. I mean, we got 14 of them. And yet, that is the biggest section of the Bible are the letters of Paul, all of his second best media. And so if Zoom is our second best media for gathering together, it does not mean that the Holy Spirit can't do something amazing with that. So we're looking forward to that. Well, you did a beautiful job. Yay! Let's talk about a little bit more fun stuff. Because we got a little bit of the remodeling. We got a little bit about your family. What are you doing right now that's kind of interesting you? What is Kristin Boorse up to? Like, you got any good shows on Netflix, or are you making macrame, or are you, reforesting the Brazilian forest? I don't know what you're up to.
Well, one thing I'll just say is just trying to stay well. I will say, both physically and mentally, it is a challenge. So Grant, the kids and I are preparing for the 7-day 6K with World Vision. So trying to have something physical to do is good, what I would call mental floss. So that's been helpful. I'll say, like, someday I have binge days of watching things on the couch. Queen's Gambit is great if you haven't.
I haven't watched that one yet.
And I'm also not swearing, but the other name of a show that I think is really lighthearted and fun is called Schitt's Creek.
Two
And
T's.
yes, so that's really fun. I'm also watching the Great British Baking Show, which was part of what inspired. Graham is more of the bread baker. I'm more of a cookie kind of baker. So he's done some of that, but that inspired the bagel making. Yeah,
It
and
got Yumiko into doing bread. So.
yeah, it's food has been a great source of comfort. So we'll see what happens at the end of that. So yeah, those are some things. And then both Graham and I are extremely blessed being able to have our jobs and being able to work from home. So doing that during the week. And then we have been doing some remodel with the front yard and the front of the house as well. So that's been keeping us busy.
Oh, that's great. So the Team World Vision, we normally do full marathon and half marathon runners. We often have a crew of like up to what, 40 people from our church, or is that too big?
Yep.
40 people from our church. And this year, because we can't gather together for a marathon, I'm in with you guys. And we're doing this you just told me it's in March. What week is it?
I have to. Every day is Blur's Day, Pastor Dan. I'm not sure. You're quizzing me on dates. I can share it. It's the week of World Water Day. I don't remember off the top of my head.
I'll have to make sure that I'm not preaching that week. So I'll have to double check my preaching schedule with Pastor Kristin. But I'll be running with you, or not with you, but so I'll be running and you'll be running, but we won't be running in a race together. We'll be running on our own. 6 kilometers, I think, is like 3.7 miles.
Yeah, 3.6 is 7. Yeah.
7 miles a day, and then for 7 days. So what is that?
Well, that adds up to a full marathon, is what that.
Oh my goodness! So if I do a half marathon, normally I can only do 3 kilometers.
So the idea is in essence, so almost all of our West Coast races, we have communities. Again, it's a smaller group, but a core group of people. We know the most vulnerable communities need a lot, even more so with the pandemic, access to clean water. So what we're doing is that week we will run 7 kilometers, 6 kilometers, 7 days, each of those consecutive days. And then there's a power one if somebody wants to do a full marathon on the end of the day. The great news is you get your bib at home and you can do it from where you're at, and you can still invite your community to participate and help lift you up. And to that end, we have a pretty small team. We only have about 13 people participating. Some are not members of All Saints, so you can have your friends do this with us as well. But you could walk every single day. And again, that's just a reminder that 6K is the average that adults and kids are walking to actually go get dirty water that will make them sick. So it is something that is absolutely doable for a lot of different ages. And Ben is saving me here with the dates here in the chat. So it's March 15th through the 21st. And I think Matt
Great.
also said World Water Day is March 22nd. So that would be the culmination. So thank you, community, for helping fill in my mind gaps here. And we've raised so far close to $28,000.
Ah,
But we have a lot more work ahead of us. So if you're interested in participating, please reach out and share if you want to support. But we'd love to have us as a community help lift up other communities across the globe.
you know what? And this is really a beautiful thing, because I just realized something, that obviously we're not gathering together to do the runs, and people can run wherever they're at. Or they could walk. We've had people walk this, we have people right now who are watching this live stream that don't live in Arizona. And we have always welcomed people that were not members of our congregation to participate in this, but we've never really had kind of a broader appeal. I think we actually have somebody from Colorado that's already signed up, right?
Yeah, we have somebody from Colorado, and we have a team member in Texas as well. So again,
So all you folks out there, if you want to connect up, I'm going to add, rather than give out something over the internet, contact me here at the church, and I'll get you in touch with Kristin Boorse. She'll get you signed up. It really is, the difference for me is that I'm not a natural athlete. I don't say, gee, I should go exercise today. But there is that sense that what I'm doing is not just about me. I'm also doing something to help people that are in much deeper need than me. And that's what gets me up for practicing. So it's kind of a strange thing. I am doing this to help others, but that sort of obligation makes me take better care of myself. And so that it's been a nice sort of like feeding circle of being blessed by this call to run, and then turning around and being able to be a blessing to people who just, man, could you imagine going through this pandemic with not even basic stuff like water? It's just terrifying to think what that's like. So thank you so much for doing that. Well, our time has just ripped past, and so I'm going to let you go. And thank you so much. I love your beautiful wallpaper as well. Thanks to Graham for helping us out in the background. And we'll see you next week online for our Zoom.
Thank you. Yep.
All right.
Bye.
All right. Well, we still have a few moments left here, and let's go ahead and see if I can pull up some more. See if any prayer requests. This is something wrong with this. We have not said a single prayer yet this morning, and that just doesn't feel right. Let me see who. I know there was somebody I was wanting to pray for because I saw the name appear. Well, I'm going to pray for Paul Eastman, we're going to pray for Todd, and see what else you want to pray for. Go ahead and send that to me. I'm going to say a prayer right now. Dear Heavenly Father, we ask you to be with our brother Paul Eastman, and help him through as he begins a new type of treatment. Let it be effective. Let it remove pain from his body, and let it extend his life. We also pray for Todd, who is suffering from cancer, and that you will bless his children and his loved ones near and far. Please be with George Humphrey as he is looking to come out of rehab and to get home. Watch over and bless so many people that need your love. Be with Barbara McDonald as her bones are healing. Be with Barbara Maurice as she's still suffering from pneumonia and looking to get into a place that can care for her better. Please be with our dear sister Skipper Vader, as she now has issues with her memory. Give her peace and comfort during this time. Watch over all of our teachers as they are at school, and we pray that they will soon all have access to the vaccine to keep themselves safe. Watch over Leslie Spees, as we've had good news about her cancer, and we pray that that good news will continue in your glorious name. Watch over this congregation, Lord, as we are in the same boat as the rest of the world, which is exactly where we should be, which is exactly where we should be. Give us a sympathy and a love for our neighbors who are going through what we are going through, and help us to always find ways to share your love to them. And Lord, also let this time of COVID be a time for us to reflect on what it means to be a church. There are things that are misunderstood about us as a church. Help us to overcome people's fears that churches are dangerous or hateful. But Lord, there are some things about us, about church, that are true. We are human beings. We are sinners. So help us to live to understand with those who have left from the church what it is that we can be to serve in your name. We pray this in your holy name. Amen. Well, I think that's about it for the day. I want to do one last check here for prayer requests here. Um, That is about it. What a fun thing. Andrew DeVito, he's usually here. He's a nurse. He and his wife are both nurses over at Mayo Clinic. So when he's not here, he's probably working. But I was talking with them. They were one of the couples that have a new child to be baptized. And we think we're going to do it as on the day of the baptism, have he and his wife in as our special guests here for live stream coffee. By the way, if there's somebody you want me to have a conversation with that you haven't heard from in a while, let me know. I would be happy to invite them in and have them as a special guest for you. I think that's it, folks. We will see you next week. And remember, next week, 9 o'clock, live stream coffee, and we'll be outside. We'll be doing our drive-through from 9 to 11. Then we got a little bit of break. And then at noon, we're going to have our Zoom annual meeting information session. And after that, we'll have our reports and we'll have all that kind of thing. And then we'll be mailing out the actual ballots for you to vote on and ask you to get those back as quickly as possible. We're hoping we can get that back within a 5-day window so we can finish up that annual meeting and have that all together. That's it, folks. God bless you. Take care. See you next week.